Hello YouTubers and welcome to the newest episode of Game Idea Talk, where we talk about very weird game ideas I come up with that game developers probably never want to produce, even though they are astonishing. Today with a very special episode because that's an idea I had in my mind for a very long time, probably at least the entire year, something like that. And well, let me make it clear. You see it from the title and from the very cheap graphics on the screen. It's called Football World. What is it? In cheap words, it's a Football World RPG simulation management indie-like game thing. I'll give you some features and quick, I will go over them in more detail. You'll get an idea on some scenarios for this game that you could play, in which way you could play it, and a little bit more about a simple day in this game. Yes, there are days. So let's get over some of the details. Features. Dynamic, living, rich world evolving around football with a very big emphasis on the word evolving. Including football matches, transfer markets, player stats and player contracts. Multiple jobs from the Greenkeeper to the player to the coach or even the president of a club. Even possible, be a famous player agent, a football reporter or just a club's physio. Live through your entire football world career, including different achievements, more on that later. Featuring a private life, yes, eat, sleep, work, repeat, because that's what it is in the world of football, and any other job for that matter. Management and schedules are important as time is running in the game. Yes, you have a day that starts at some point and that ends at some point because no person can be awake the whole day. And it's not like click on the button for next day, we don't simulate like that. No, it's an RPG game, so we need time pressure. Move around the world as a character on the screen. Yes, it is again an RPG and you are the character you play, so you go somewhere. Coaches don't sleep in the stadium, sorry. Develop football in areas where football is at its best a niche sport, including the option to even found a football association in a country where football is not a thing for that matter. Witness a football world change over time. Transfer records, game strategies, and even league rules or regulations change over time. And there's the good old DIY. Build your own club facilities, handle merchandising, or just build a new stadium or training ground for your youth team, whatever you want. Also a fully female football world included, as well as female player character options and choices. Why not? There are some filthy options, black money, bribing, and contract breaches like in the real world, because let's face it, we want those options in football management games. We had them long ago, why not again? I mean, let's come on, be honest, a little bit of a mean game streak, yes. Handle private relationships with players, media, staff, fans, and even relatives of all of those. There's an excessively detailed information, for example, numerous different newspapers with individual opinions and informations. Did you pay your monthly fee for it yet? There are never-ending options for random events, in-game story elements, and worldwide events. For example, change of World Cup rules, why not? There's something called New Game Plus, achievements and global effects you take over into new games, like the option to search for merchandising contracts, more on that later. There's a fog of detail, just like you have in real-time strategy games. Not everything is known to you, and why would you know something like player XY has the shooting skill in 15 of 20 or something? The real world doesn't work like that. Scouts don't work like that. You can't come along and say Cristiano Ronaldo has 95 technique. That's just not realistic, so let's give up on that and say he has great technique or whatever. All those details are fairly funny. Let's get into more detail if you're not surprised yet. Yes, if you think about something like a football management RPG, you are inclined to think it's a little bit like maybe some kind of weird Football Manager Inazuma 11 mixture. No, it's clearly not. This is way too complicated and way too database-sized and way too individual RPG proven. That's why I thought I'm bringing up a little bit of image of the RPG Maker and of Football Managers, the EA version, but never mind, and RimWorld, because it's more like an indie development game style, like the Stardew Valley, Graveyard Keeper, RimWorld design, where you are the character on the screen, and you are only your character for that matter, that you guide through a world, and maybe you want to be someone certain. So let's go over possible scenarios on how you could play the game. 5 versions for you to get you a little bit of interested in what you could play in this game, in Football World. Number 1, the player career. You start as player. As a player, you have never been too successful, but you made it into 2nd or 3rd league maybe, so a little bit of income, why not? Then you turn to be a youth coach, because every player ends his career at some point, and you just I don't know, 33, you don't want to retire yet, so become a youth coach of a club. Later on, due to the experience that you make, and it's an RPG game, you have to make the experience. You have to first train to get into certain levels. Then you become a professional coach, maybe even an international squad coach, and at the end you finally retire being a semi-world champion, whatever. We'll see. It's all up to you and how successful you can be and which way you go. A second scenario. You're the physio. You started as an amateur player, but you got an injury and therefore you had a lot of physio training in your career. And yes, you can be the player in this game. A simple football player. Yes, why not? So later on, after your retirement as a player, you start to be the physio for a club. Why not? It's an interesting career. At some point, you may even change to have your own physio company where you're no longer depending on a club, but you have your own facilities and players come to you. That exists, and at the end, you retire in the age of, I don't know, 60, whatever. The third version, the Greenkeeper career. Start as a cleaning staff for a small club, work as a gardener for a bigger one, and perhaps at some point become head greenkeeper of a club and retire such. Maybe, why not? If you want to take care of plants and greens and the stadium and so on for 30 years and make sure there is no garbage and littering around the stadium, why not? If that is your career, go ahead, you can play the game like that. At that point, you don't have to care about successful players in the world and strategies and transfer markets. All that happens in the background. You totally don't care and you just want to be the greenkeeper for your club. Why not? Number 4, the player agent. Yes, why always being a player or a coach if you can make all the money with them instead? Start as an amateur youth coach, become a player agent for low league talents, and work to fame until you are offered a position in a big player agency. Perhaps there you want to fulfill your duties like contract work, finding new players, or finding a new club for a player of your agency, until you are offered to take over the agency and later on retire as a player agent, famous or infamous, as an expert for a TV channel even. Why not? I mean, think about the Mino Raiolas of the world. They make more money than most football players. Why not? If that is your thing and you just want to be greedy and filthy rich, why not? And number 5, the female star player. Start as female player until high league success. Retire your player career and become a female coach. Change to media expert perhaps for the male national squad and turn into the first female coach of the male first league. Unless you're too late and somebody else made that already. Why not? We have female referees. Why not that too? I mean, it's your career, and if you're successful enough, maybe you accomplish that. That would be an achievement to unlock, wouldn't it? Let's get over a typically day in football world as a perspective from the most standard things for most of you probably, the coach. You wake up at home, yes, you have your own home, that you can even equip with certain details like a bed and chairs and computers and furniture and your trophies and whatever. You have your breakfast because yes, you do have needs. A human does have to eat, and if you don't eat, you're probably not going to be the most friendly kind of guy in your press conference. So you have your breakfast, you read your news, whatever kind of newspapers or internet services you have actually subscribed to. You go to your club, yes, you have to take a taxi, a car, whatever. I mean, you could make that as a loading screen, whatever. You prepare the training with your assistant coach, like assigning groups and what training is going to happen today. You do the training, that could be simulated too if you want to. You have your lunch again because it's already midday and yes, time is running. You speak to the head of sports about newest scout results. I mean, at some point you want to have better players, right? You talk to fans if you like after the training, and at the end you ask the greenkeeper to replace the green in the stadium. You simply go home because we are talking about 4 or 5 p.m. probably. You eat something, you listen to the TV about international results because your club might be playing international next year, so you want to get informed about the best teams out there. And you finally go to sleep and relax. Yes, you have status bars for these things. Why not? Now let's get into a little bit more in-game detail about how these things would actually work. The RPG elements. Hunger level could determine your attention and focus for the training. And your training would suffer if you would not play. Well, if you don't feed yourself and starve to death, you're dead, period, no training. Newspaper quality determines the level of information. I mean, if you buy a local free, or if you subscribe to a local free service on the internet, or you get your local free newspaper, then you just get information about what happens in the world of football around you. But if you want to know what happens in another country or what happens on an international level, well, you probably need the right newspapers for that, so you have to buy them, and that costs you money that you have to earn first. And in the beginning of the game, that might be an issue, depending on how hard you want to make it. If you start with as a filthy rich person, maybe you want to do that, then well, start your own club. But if you start as a nobody, you'll have to have your success come to you by hard work. And maybe a little bit of luck and a little bit of filthy bribing. If the media mentions you, your relationship with them matters. I mean, just opening the sports newspaper saying, oh, head coach, the famous head coach has come and made an agreement about a player contract, whatever. They will talk good about that if they like you. They will not talk very good about you if they really hate you and you never give them any interviews. So you have to be careful how you treat them all. That's just like the real world. Sometimes things have advantages, sometimes they have disadvantages. Sometimes you're just in bad luck. The assistant coach, for example, is only as good as he is. Keep in mind, there's a fog of details, so you don't know how good he is. There is no coaching 15 of 20. Sorry, you will have to live with the fact that he may have been successful in a former club, or maybe the club itself had success and you know that he was participating in that success because his coach talked very well about his staff, and then you decided maybe I offer him a job, or his contract was expired and he's gotten too old for his old club, but maybe he's still not too old for yours. If it's a cheap margin, go for it, you know? So you have to trust a little bit your instinct, and of course in the background there are assistant coach features and stats, but you will never see them in this game, just like with the players. In scouting you don't see technique 95 or whatever, like anything like that. You just see a very, very technical player from your scouts, and that only if your scouts are good enough to scout them. I mean, if they're not capable, they won't know. Of course, more famous players from higher leagues are well known enough, and then the information is available to you, and even your fans talk about it. But you can't ask your fans on the screen if you walk through the stadium and you ask fans about player XYZ from a foreign obscure Mexican league, second league. They will not even ever have heard of that player, so there's a high chance that you don't get any information. Anyway, the fan service. Will they cheer for you or boo for you? Maybe even a new suit that you could wear could help you, that you have to buy first and afford for that matter. Every club has different fans, so you can tailor towards them, or you can just tailor yourself to bigger career plans. I mean, why caring about fans in a lowly club if you want to go up to the big clubs in London, Barcelona, or wherever? You never know. The quality of the green in the stadium probably determines the risk of injury. So if you don't have a good greenkeeper, or if you are a bad greenkeeper yourself, then there's probably a fair chance that your players get injured on the field. So you should really pay attention to what you do there. Not to mention that higher or lower grass determines whether or not you have a good play style or not. Whether you want to have the green wet determines whether you have fast-paced playing or not. So you can tailor all those small details. There's micro and macro management in this game like nothing else in the world. And at home you need to relax and save energy. Or you could even work at home a little bit, like preparing your schedule for the training. Whatever you do in the club, this is something you may even prepare at home. You never know. Or you go out and meet people in the town to have a little bit better public relations. You could even talk to the press afterwards. But be careful if you talk to the press and your president didn't allow you for that. And that is football world. A typically RPG game evolving around football. Yes, it's a management game, it's a simulation game. But who you are in this world, whether you're a player, a physio, a coach, a president, even just a sports reporter, that depends on you. And you have RPG-like character stats for that you can increase. You do not per se level up. There's no chance that you just add yourself a +2 bonus for contract signing or something like that on the next level, which would be an interesting option for a smaller game, but that's not how it's supposed to be. But for that game, it's just interesting to see that you can do things like that by simply experiencing. For example, as a player, you don't get better if you don't train, so you need to work on the training count. You need to go to the fitness center and so on and so on. And at some point you need to go to do some cardio training and do some wellness and so on. And by the time you slowly get better. However, you yourself know your stats. So you have certain physical skills, you have certain mental skills that you know, and you unlock more and more of these skills simply by doing them. It's like good old The Elder Scrolls Oblivion. Do it in order to learn it, in order to improve. And you will never be good in medical skills if you're never injured and you never learn about it. But even if you're never injured as a player, maybe you want to learn about it. Learning is slow, but over time. You play the career of an individual. You don't play a game for 3 or 4 years, you play over 30 or 40 years. And at some point you have enough money to found your own club. So just start in a low level league and come up with, I don't know, building a stadium. I mean, you see RimWorld on the screen. Just imagine how you start building your own facilities, your own rooms. Who is your assistant coach? Where is he going to work? Will he get his own room, or does he have to work together with the scouts and the heads of sports if your small club can afford it? Will you build your stadium like that with pre-made details like seating areas or the media area? Will you have to individually design where the bench for the substitution players comes in and so on? All those details, vast from micro to macro management, are in your hands, depending on whether or not you're actually qualified to do it and whether you're allowed to do it. Because as the head of sports, you do not determine how a new stadium is going to look like. But if you're the president, you can. However, if you're the president of your own club, at some point you have to relegate your obligations, and you have to find staff that will do it for you. As a president of a small club, you can be basically the greenkeeper, the coach, and the president all in once. But if you go higher up the level, you have more tasks. And here comes the RPG element. A day only has 24 hours and you can't be awake all the time. So you have to relegate things. You have to find the right staff. That is difficult because lower league staff and that you can find on the street, they may be capable of something or they may be not. They may do some things good and others not so well, and you have to find out over time. So we'll have to be able to even forgive people for some mistakes. If a scout gave you a player and told them it's a great talent that will work good for your club but it didn't work out, do you fire the scout and get a new one, or do you give the scout a chance and tell him to make better next time? Maybe you even send your scout out on training missions and so on. So it's in your hand. The whole world depends on you. You can really just work as an official for a football association and decide, I want to, I don't know, let's start football in some of Southern Asia's countries or somewhere in Africa where nobody really plays football. Or you decide, I have always wanted to make the Egypt League a world-class league, so I'll work on that and work with the media for it and find sponsorships and whatever. You are an individual character in a big world of football, and you do what you want if you can do it, and if not, work on it, because that's how it is. This game gives you all these opportunities. You will not end a 40 or 50 years long career being a professional player and the perfect president and the perfect player agent and perfect. You just have to decide which path you go, and at some point, maybe due to random events, there should be thousands and thousands of those, you decide to change. You've been a professional player, you end your career, and you decide you want to be a player agent. But what if exactly in your country player agents are forbidden suddenly? The world changes and rule changes in the world. Why not having random events like that or meta informations? And you decide, you know what, forget about player agent. Maybe you actually want to become a coach, or maybe you just want to be a sports reporter and make more money with that. And with that money, you invest into other things. Not always legal. This is an option too. So you get an idea. This is how extremely complex a game like that could be. Forget about Dwarf Fortress or Aurora 4X. Football World would be the ultimate football RPG. And well, write down in the comments what you think about it, what options you have. I mean, there's a full female player market. A game like that can be in indie graphics. It does not have to have the most interesting actual football game engine. A simple 2D version would work that shows us tackling and so on. The positioning must be right. A good AI is, well, have you ever played FIFA? That's not exactly a high level artificial intelligence for football, so don't mind me saying, but Sega with a low level graphics has way better artificial intelligence for football, so well, that would be enough. Just build one, and a game like that could probably be developed in 3 to 5 years. And you could bring regular updates, or you could actually do a cash cow and milk it out by simply providing new DLCs. I mean, you can even make an fantasy world RPG DLC where there's matching wolf, whatever, I don't care, or where you suddenly got like stats or whatever, I don't care. Make this game be whatever you want it to be. The game gives you a full world of football and you are the character in it. And that's why it's more of an RPG than a football management game, because you decide where you want to go and what you want to do. Write down in the comments if you like it. I think there are a lot of people that would play a game like that. And if you happen to be a, I don't know, billionaire or oligarch and you think there should be a game like that, send me a mail, you know. It's not... I don't mind being creative director of a game development company. That would probably have to be started first. Anyway, thanks for listening and have some nice ideas with producing games and developing games. And as always, this game is for free, the game idea at least. So go ahead and share it among the world. Maybe one day somebody comes up with a game like that. You never know. Why is football management always just a game where you play Excel charts? Why not an RPG with more than just funny story elements and actual football world management, simulation, RPG, indie-like? I think you get the idea. Have fun and see you at the next time. Bye bye.